7.4, now we are looking at parallel lines and proportional parts. So we have the triangle proportionality theorem that says if a line is parallel to one side of a triangle and intersects the other two sides, then it divides the sides into proportional length. And we also have the mid-segment of a triangle, which is kind of like the mid-segment of the trapezoid, only a triangle can have 3 mid-segments, one from each set of sides. And the triangle mid-segment theorem is that those mid-segments are parallel to one side and half of the length of the side that it's parallel to. So our first example, we have a diagram labeled over here for us, and it's asking us to find SU, which is labeled as X on there. So just like we've been doing all chapter, we are going to set up a proportion and solve that. So there's lots of different ways you could set it up. I'm going to look at just kind of these sides together and say the 8 and the 3 are comparable in the same way that the 12 and the X are comparable. And then I'm going to cross multiply and solve. So that's going to become 8x equals 36. And then I would divide both sides by 8 and get x equals 4.5. Go back and check. So it was find SU. Well, SU is x. So I'm just going to say SU equals 4.5. Okay, example 2. We have a figure over here. It says that DE and EF are mid-segments of triangle ABC, and we have some measurements to find. So this is a mid-segment, which would be parallel to that line. This is a mid-segment, which would be parallel to that line. So first we have the length of AB. So AB is this whole length along here. So the mid-segment is half of the side that it's parallel to. So if this is 5, AB is going to be double that, or 10. FE, so FE is here. If that is a mid-segment, that means this is half of this whole length. So half of 18 gives us 9. And the last one it's asking for is the measure of angle AFE. So AFE would be right here. Okay, so we can think about this as I have, these are parallel because it's a mid-segment. This could be a transversal. So if I compare this angle to this angle, those are alternate interior angles, which means they're equal to each other. So this would also be 87 degrees. Okay, example 3. We have the figure to the right here. We have some streets lined out that are parallel to each other. We want to find the value of x here. So, however there's lots of different ways you could set it up. If you could compare this to this, and 13 to 16, you could go 26 to 13, x to 16. However you want to set it up is fine. I chose on this one, let's do 26 to x, so 26 over x equals 13 over 16. So if I cross multiply, that gives me 13x equals 416, which gives me an x value of 32, which is what it was asking for. Now, if you're a logical thinker that you can look at this and you can see 13 is half of 26, or 13 times 2 is 26, then the same process is going to apply here. This is going to be this value times 2 is what that's going to be. So sometimes these are easy to recognize like that, which is great if your brain works that way to figure those out. If not, then set up a proportion, because the proportion will work every time. Alright, last one. We're going to find the value of x and y on here. So first thing to look at, what do they have marked on here? Notice these little markings. Those tick marks mean that those are equal to each other. So in order to find x, all I have to do is solve a regular old equation here. So if I subtract x from both sides, and then add 7, divide by 2, I get x equals 6. Okay, now since these are marked that these are parallel lines, if those are equal, then that means these have to be equal to each other because they're proportional to each other. So I'm going to say 9y minus 2 equals 6y plus 4. So I would, if I was solving, subtract 6y from both sides, add 2, divide by 3, and I get y equals 2. So I found my x and y in that diagram. Alright, so you have 2 things to find on here based on this diagram and your joke. What do you do if a rhino charges you? You give him your credit card. Okay, hope you have a great rest of your day, and make sure you're kind to someone today.